Hello and welcome to Chat with Kari. I'm your host, Kari Lane. Joining me today, you might recognize him as one of the charming heartthrobs in India Sweets and Spices. Welcome, Ved Sapru.
Hey, Kari, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we saw you recently in India Sweets and Spices, but before we get into that, I did want to talk about how you have a theater background. And tell me, how did you get into theater and what was that like seed of, you know what, I want to be on stage?
Thank you for the question. I come from a theatre family, actually, so I've always kind of grown up kind of watching people in my family kind of in the performing arts, specifically my granddad, who is a playwright and theatre director in India. So for me, it was always kind of just really just a real process of being able to watch someone else and see someone in my family have that kind of career path. And coming from a South Asian background, I think that really helps to kind of give that kind of encouragement to be able to feel like that is something that you could go after. And I think with most people who start off in the theatre, I think once you bite the bug of the theatre bug, it's really really hard to let go. So yeah, that's how I find myself in the theatre.
Nice. I love that you mentioned how, seeing someone do it and being aware that that's even an option was
Yeah,
something that
yeah,
helped you go on that path. Do
yeah,
you feel,
definitely. I think.
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just another kind of like reasoning for why the arts in education is so important at such an early stage. Even if that's not something that you might want to be going towards, I think it's really important at like an early foundation education level to kind of have that kind of going around, whether it's theatre, acting, or dance, or any of the art forms. Yeah, I think it's just so important. If I didn't have that, and if I didn't have such great teachers who would inspire me, I don't think I'd be here today.
Do you feel you're aware at all that you could be that representation for somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you asked that. So I'm a jobbing actor, so I have loads of side hustles and all of that coming together. And one of my side hustles is I teach drama and acting to very, very young children, all the way from like year one to kids who are finishing high school. So yeah, I definitely do feel that that feeling that I have that kind of responsibility of being able to inspire young people to take up a role in the arts.
Aw, that's awesome. And that just sounds so cute of like, yes, encouraging the next generation and
Yeah.
beyond. What has been your favorite play to watch, and what's been your favorite play to be in?
Ooh, I think my favorite play to watch would have been so far. I saw the Cherry Orchards at the Arcola Theatre when I was just about finishing drama school. And I got to see, actually, I went to see one of my friends performing in it, and it was her debut show. And I just remember the feeling of watching someone who I was training with in drama school, and then watching them just kind of blossom into this artist and performer right in front of my eyes. It's just one of the most inspiring days for me in terms of watching theatre as an audience member. And so far, my favorite thing that I've been in would have been Henry V at the Regent's Park. I was in my last year of drama school. I was really, really lucky to be cast in Henry V, with a really massive, big production. And the lead was being played by a woman named Michelle Terry. And she's really, really renowned here in the UK in the theatre scene. She's actually the artistic director of the Globe now. But I would just remember at the time being like a young drama school graduate, well, on the verge of graduating, and just watching all these like pros just kind of playing with it and doing something that they do every day, and that they have done for so long. And you see all of their craft coming together, like all the years of hard work and strife, and then to be in the show with them on the day, you kind of all the rehearsal and all of that process that you've been seeing them work towards, it just kind of disappears and you see the magic come forth. Yeah, that was just an unbelievable time for me as well. I was so lucky to have been a part of it, and it left such a like a lasting impression on me as well. Just to be able to watch the pros go for it.
Nice. Now, what is your dream theatrical role? Well, I guess you could
Oh,
do a movie character, or which we'll be getting into movies, but theater and then a movie if you have one of those as well.
yeah. I haven't actually thought about that. I think the stereotypical answer for any like male theatre actor would be to say Othello. Um, but you know what? That's thinking about that, I just feel it's so daunting at the moment. And to play any of these kind of like classical characters, you just usually need like a depth of life experience, which I feel like I'm still kind of clawing at the moment. But yeah, definitely, if I had to pick something in my future, it would definitely be Othello.
Nice. And then I guess a dream role in a way, theatrical going in. You had your theatrical debut with
Mm.
India Sweets and Spices. How did you hear about the role? Like how did you get involved with that project? Cuz yay, congrats on that debut.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to try and make a long story very concise, but I was at the time, it was in like 2019. I had just come back to the UK, and I remember I was just like on the old audition wheel of just going after audition, and my agent sent me this little log line for this film called India Sweets and Spices, and I just loved the title in the beginning. And I remember reading through it, and I was still going to work. I was working at the time in like catering or something. So I was like going in between auditions to work, trying to read the script and learn lines in the subway, or the tube, as we call it. Um, and yeah, that in itself is an experience, to have people watch you kind of memorizing lines and rehearsing in a tube. But yeah, I got this audition through. They were auditioning in LA, so they had rented out a studio here in London, and that was a really awkward kind of experience for me, to go into an audition room, to a casting room, where there's just a camera and a screen, and I'm talking to the director and the casting director in LA, and that was definitely a first for me. And I just remember having like 2, 3 rounds of auditions, and I was really lucky to actually meet my co-star there, Rish Shah. And instantly when we met, we just had this chemistry like outside of the audition room, just after the first round. And I remember in the second round when we came, it was just me and him in the room, and they asked us to come into the room together to do some scenes. And I think when like you could just tell that there was some sort of an unwritten chemistry between the two of us. And I remember they made us switch roles a few times, so we were switching roles and like picking up new scripts for that. And we just kind of got on so well, and the interaction in the room was just so organic that it kind of like you could feel it kind of moving on screen. And I'm sure, I hope at least, the director and Keitha and our casting director could feel the same energy. Yeah, and I was really lucky, and things like that kind of move in a whirlwind. And a week later, I was in Atlanta getting ready to film my first film, which was in a way really daunting at the time. But yeah, what an amazing experience.
And then also, as you mentioned, you're getting ready in the tube, and
Yeah,
with your British accent, which is your natural speaking voice. What was it
mm,
like of like, actually, but this is set in the United States. Can you do an American accent? How did you pick
yeah.
what an
You know what?
American accent sounds
I'm
like?
I'm so like, when it comes to auditioning, like I love doing accents in general. I feel like I have an ear for it. I'm a musician as well, so it's kind of just about listening, and there's something about mimicking that comes naturally. But when it came to the day, I remember I was so nervous before I went into my first audition, and obviously the character's American Indian with an American accent. And I just remember kind of like panicking in my head, like, oh, I was like confusing kind of like British idioms, and like just the inflections in my voice were like coming out British as I was running the lines. So I made a deal with myself. I'm just gonna walk into the room with like a normal American accent, very standard American accent. I'm gonna roll all my R's, and yeah, I just stuck with it. And I remember going into the room, and they had asked me before. They're like, "So, are you American?" And I just kind of like nodded my head in nervousness. But no, very. I had a phone call with Geeta between some of the auditions, and then she clearly found out that I had a very British accent. But you know what? I think maybe that, maybe hopefully, maybe that impressed someone on the other end of the line to see that I could jump between the two and own it and make it feel like my own. So yeah.
Did you have any moments where filming where you're like, "Wait, that's not what that's supposed to sound like," and, like, trying to
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, I
or
did
once you were
actually.
in the
I didn't.
rhythm?
Yeah, there were so many things that I didn't really like when I was in drama school. When we go through accents, like most of the time, you're kind of there's a lot of mimicking going on. There's a lot of like what you hear, and you're just trying to recreate it and try to make it your own. But when you're on set and you're creating this character from scratch, and you're trying to make him your own. I remember having very like weird inflections that were not American at all, like stuff with like questions. Apparently, like American people like to kind of lift at the end of a question, where British people kind of have an inflection in the middle of the sentence, which is like really technical and subtle and something that you could forget about. But we had such a lovely team on set for India Sweets and Spices. So everyone was super helpful with that, and they knew we were British. So they would always listen out for things. They were really kind to point it out and kind of help us and give us that time. But more than anything, I think just being in America at the time and being surrounded by Americans, that really helped as well. That really kind of makes you feel like you're a sponge, kind of absorbing that accent every day. So yeah, it was.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense because it's one of those things, like, you can watch a movie, and I feel sometimes it's, like, right after you feel like you can do the accent or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Mm.
you mentioned the experience of going theater into the film. Was there anything that, was surprising to you, or a particular challenge going from theater acting to film acting? Because they're both acting, but it's not the
Mhm,
same
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest thing is that when you're coming from theatre, you're just used to like a rehearsal process, which is like it could be a long rehearsal process or a shorter rehearsal process, but a rehearsal process nonetheless. And it's a very collaborative kind of ensemble-driven thing in theatre, where as much as you're putting into the rehearsal process, other people are getting that much amount as well. So it's really, really collaborative, and you kind of flesh out the details of the script and the scenes that you're trying to do and the character, and they all come from a place of like rehearsal. But going into film, there's like very, very little rehearsal, at least in most projects. I remember this was an indie project, so I think we finished filming in like 25 days from start to finish. So there's no time, and there's so many different people coming from different places, and so much money on the line. And obviously, those things like rehearsal are just like a thought in the wind, really. So for me, getting used to like sitting in a hotel room and fleshing out, doing all of that rehearsal process by myself in a room, and then coming to set, and then having that opportunity to kind of play with an actor and a director is obviously really helpful. But it was definitely like I had to change like thinking caps halfway through, and kind of be ready with like finished like products, and come with ideas that are already fleshed out and thought about. So when you're on set, you're just kind of in the moment, and you're able to react and like give as much as you can to your other actors and directors. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any particular memories from set that were something really funny, or kind of a happy accident where something didn't go as planned but turned out better than you expected?
Yeah. So there's a scene in India Sweets and Spices where my character Rahul comes home to Alia's place, and he meets her in the basement of her house. And just before the scene starts, he's playing darts, and he's supposed to be missing his shots. And I remember I had never played darts before. Like I'd seen people play darts, but I'd never really actually, taken a few darts and tried my hand at it. And it sounds like I'm showing off, but honestly, it was a complete accident. We were running the scene, and it was on the first take, and I was supposed to throw a dart at a dartboard and miss. And I remember I just kept hitting the bullseye, like two different darts kept hitting the bullseye, and it was so hard for me and the crew to keep a straight face. But I remember having a big congratulatory thing after that scene had ended about my amazing dart skills. So yeah, that's a really, really funny scene for me.
That is one of those, "I promise, I'm not trying."
Yeah,
That
no, it's
sounds hilarious, but
one of
yeah.
those bar games, right? Like, I guess they say, well, the
Mhm.
drunker you can get for one of those games, the better you go get. But yeah, honestly, I have to go try out my dart skills soon.
There you go. You need to, like, be like, "Oh, no, I'm not really good at this. I don't do it often,"
Yeah,
and
I
then
should
just
just
surprise
hustle my way
people.
through it. Exactly. I wonder what other skills that I could pick up like that. Yeah.
Yes. I was going to do a shout out of, speaking of your musical skills, go check out his Instagram page on the stories. There's a lot of very beautiful moments of you playing guitar. So I was like, ooh, that's neat to share. And that's nice to like be able to preserve it, of something that
Yeah.
people can go look at later on.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm. Yeah. And then another thing more recently that you were in, which is more of a small cameo, but it was still
Mhm.
really cool because knowing it was you, I was like, oh, and don't want to spoil it for anybody, but
Yeah.
still, you have a nice little cameo in Slow Horses in I think it's pretty much the pilot episode or so. It's
Yeah.
either the first or the second. It's pretty early on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the
Um,
first two episodes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So, which is also a really good show. So if you haven't watched that, check it out. What was it like working on that show? Because it's a pretty elaborate thing that you're involved with, and yeah, I don't want to spoil what it is. But
Yeah.
how was that? Because that was something bigger. It is an Apple Plus TV show,
Yeah. Definitely.
and it's some big names in it too.
Yeah, for me it was again just like all of my kind of credits that I've had so far, which I've been so fortunate to have and to be able to get these opportunities. They've all been like moments of where I'm always just been like a sponge, and I'm so grateful for that to be able to be surrounded by so many like veteran actors and people on the crew and filmmakers who are just at the top of their game. It was such an honor, and I'm so grateful for that. On Slow Horses, the bits that I was happy to be in to film with were really long, kind of continuous kind of shots and very elaborate sequences, which are really technical, and they took days to film. And I just remember just seeing this like the machine of such big sets kind of working together, and there's so many different parts in it that are moving. And I remember there were on the days that I was shooting, I was one of the teams that was shooting, so there was three different teams shooting at the same time in three different locations around London and Greater London, and they're all kind of synced up, and you see that in the video village or video hut, and you see all the teams and all the footage coming in and all of them working at hand. And yeah, just what an amazing experience for me. And I was so lucky to work with the lead, Jack Loden, who is such a talent. Just to see him with his craft, really sinking his teeth into things, and the amount of focus that it requires to be a lead on a show like that. You kind of carry it. You set the pace for a lot of things. You set the pace for other actors. You set the pace for the crew. And it was just amazing to see someone do it so gracefully. Yeah, I'm just so grateful to be a part of that.
And then what's next for you? Any upcoming projects you're allowed to share? I know sometimes it's like, well, I can't share that yet, but anything on the horizon that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, well, yeah, some stuff that I can't really share, but I am working on a play here with a few colleagues of mine and a director that I've been wanting to work with for a long time. It's a very small, like three-hander play. It's an Edward Bond play called Have I None. It's part of a series of plays by Edward Bond. It's very dystopian. It's a three-hander play, so there's only three actors, and my character stays on stage the whole time. It runs for
Ooh.
about an hour and 15. And it's nothing like I've ever done before. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, because when I was offered the script, I was just petrified, just looking at the script, just to see how dense it was. And I didn't, yeah, I think that kind of motivated me to want to do it, because it's been a while since I've done theatre, especially with the whole pandemic, and the theatre industry taking such a hit. Just to come back to something where I can ground myself, and find my craft again is it's really all I wanted to be doing. So I'm very grateful for that. It's out in July at the Riverfront Studios in London. So if you're in London in the summertime and you want to go see some great off West End theatre, come on down. We'd love to have you an audience.
Yeah, that does sound like a very fun challenge for an actor of like, yes, you will be on stage the whole
Yeah,
time. So
yeah. No, definitely. I'm super looking forward. We are about 3 weeks into our rehearsal. We've got about 4 weeks left, with a really intensive week at the end. So I always think, like, when you're doing a theatre show, the first few weeks, everyone's kind of looking around like, did we do the right thing by signing up for this? Because nothing is like working, and you're in the state of like fear, and fear is really the driving force, and the fear of failure is like a driving
mm,
force as well. But one of my favorite quotes from when I was in drama school, I think it's like Brecht who said it, is fail again, just fail better. And I'm paraphrasing when I say that, but that line has always stuck with me. I think it's at the heart of everything I do with acting. So yeah, I'm very excited for it.
well, break a leg for your show. I was
Thank
gonna
you
say,
very
I'm like,
much.
is that an expression over there too?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Great, yeah,
Yes.
100%.
It's one of those, there are the as you were saying, the phrases and idioms of like the, language is
Yeah.
interesting. Even though it's both English, it's still
Yeah,
the
no, definitely.
slang terms and such. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, awesome. Congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing
Thank you very
more
much.
film roles and TV roles for you ahead.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for joining me.
No, it's been absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And thank you everyone for watching and joining us on Chat with Kari. I'm your host, Kari Lane. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up, click that subscribe button so you can be up to date on the next one. And again, thank you so much for watching. I'm Kari Lane with Diya TV, and I'll see you next time.